Today we are joined in the lounge by Steven Reinstein, and we discuss why certain Facebook ads don't work, the secrets of internet marketing, and 90s R&B. Stick around and you'll find out more. The lounge starts now.
You're listening to the Level Up Lounge podcast.
Level up.
Level up. Level up.
Level up.
Level up. You're listening to the Level Up Lounge podcast.
Welcome to the Level Up Lounge. This is your host, Adam Kiefer, and we have an awesome show planned for you guys today. We are joined by Steven Reinstein of Market Muscles. He is an internet marketing and social media wizard that focuses primarily on helping martial arts schools to grow and get the most out of those areas. So he's going to be dropping some knowledge bombs for you guys and helping you with typical issues that school owners face when it comes to internet marketing and social media. After that, we have our Punch in the Face segment.
Punch in the face.
Today, I'm going to be covering this question. Are you living the life or are you living the lie? And we're going to get into a little bit of what that means. And Nick Doherty is the one that got me to start thinking about this, something he said in one of his videos. So I want to explain what that means, some questions that you guys can ask yourself to help you get the most out of yourself and also the most out of your business as well. Right now, let's jump into the interview with my man, Steven Reinstein. Steven, how you doing today, man?
Good. How are you?
I am excellent. I think we connected for the first time through Facebook, and I think you helped me with some Facebook issues I was having and made everything make sense so much easier for me. You are sort of the go-to guy right now for anything web related, social media related. And for our listeners that maybe haven't heard of you, can you just sort of give us a snapshot of maybe your background and sort of what you're doing in the industry right now?
So for everyone that doesn't know who I am, my name is Steven Reinstein. I am a web designer and developer. I own a company called Market Muscles, where we help martial arts schools enroll more members through various different internet-related services. I'm a lifelong martial artist. I started karate when I was 2.5 years old. I train in Okinawan karate, Shorin-ryu specifically. And I've been doing web-related work since the age of 12. I started in middle school, basically, or very early high school, just making different types of graphics, and eventually got into coding and been doing that for various different agencies for a long while. And then just a couple of years ago, kind of combined the two, my two passions, martial arts and then web design, and formed Market Muscles.
That's awesome. And I've sort of had the pleasure of seeing you start your company and sort of see you along the journey and just the great things that you've been doing for other martial arts schools. And people just rave about your services. So we want to sort of pick your brain on just overall web-based environment of websites, social media. So let's start with social media. So let's say I'm a school that really doesn't have a Facebook presence. What do I need to do to even start on Facebook if I'm a martial arts school that doesn't really have anything going on right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, it's almost like a crazy thing to even think about at this point, a potential
True.
Business not having a Facebook page, just because it's like everybody's on Facebook, right?
It's almost like not having a website.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's almost like you need a Facebook page almost before a website at this point. Yeah, I mean, I guess step one is creating a business page. That really is what needs to be done first, and then filling that out with your information, photos, videos, general business information. Your address, your phone number. All these kind of basic things that they'll kind of take you through as you create your Facebook page initially. And then this is going to be a spot that a lot of people are going to go to find out more information. So really putting more information on there as much as you can to really show who you are as a company, what you guys are, what you represent. Getting reviews on there is going to be incredibly important. I mean, there's a lot of different pieces to an actual Facebook page, but when it comes to a potential new school that might not even have a Facebook page, just really getting on there and filling it up with as much information about you is step one.
So once I have a Facebook page, how often do I post? What should I put on there? What would you suggest for the school owners listening?
I think that consistency is step one for almost anything that you do in general.
Awesome.
But when it comes to Facebook, you hear a lot of different things like, oh, you have to be posting every day, or you have to be posting twice a day, or whatever it may be. But it's really easy to say, okay, I can do that. And then you do it for like a couple days. And then all of a sudden you get busy doing all of these other things, running your school. And then all of a sudden that doesn't become a priority anymore. So people might be used to seeing your posts every day for a week or so. And then all of a sudden you fall off the side of the earth. And then, they're wondering what happened. It almost looks like, did you guys close down shop, or, what's going on? So for me, my suggestion for anyone getting into social media for the first time and then is to really develop a consistent schedule that they can honestly stick with. And if that's once a month when they first start out, then that's okay. And then they can up that frequency as time goes on. But being really honest with yourself and knowing like how much you can contribute to your Facebook page or your Instagram profile, whatever it is that you're making, just make sure it's consistent. And then eventually when you can get to it, posting every day would be great.
Now, for someone that's newer, would you recommend them to start with the mindset of documenting first and then worry about creating content later? Would that be an easier way to start off? So just sort of like taking pictures of their classes or doing live videos of their classes as opposed to creating custom content for their page?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this kind of goes to, what Gary Vaynerchuk says. Of course, he's all about documenting the process, which is almost like the easiest way for you to create content. And it's essentially living your life, but taking video or pictures as you're doing it. I mean, you're doing it anyway, so you might as well just bust out your phone and take a couple snapshots while you're at it. And that's really the easiest way to create content. And of course, as you get more into it, there's very creative ways that you can go about it, very intentional ways that you can go about creating content. But when you're first starting out, the easiest way is, everyone has the phone on them at all times, so might as well just take it out when you can, snap a couple pictures and throw it up on Facebook.
Awesome. Now, I want to get into Facebook ads a little bit with you because I know most people are either having loads of success from Facebook ads or getting crazy frustrated with Facebook ads. Before we do that, though, I wondered if you could explain to the listeners, because I think it's important for them to understand what a funnel is and how a funnel works, because I think that goes into a lot with Facebook ads and converting that traffic to their website. Can you just explain to the listeners sort of how a funnel works for social media and website?
Yeah, absolutely. So a funnel, which you can imagine shaped like any sort of funnel, starts large on the top and gets smaller as you get down. And essentially what it is, it's a very strategic step of or set of steps that you want people to follow to eventually end at your end goal. So whatever that end goal may be for martial arts schools, it's enrolling as a member for the most part. So top of the funnel, you might have your different Facebook pages, and then having them be fans of that or whatever it may be. And then end of the funnel is them becoming a member. And then it's really figuring out what happens in between all of that. That's the important piece of the funnel.
Now, going to Facebook ads, it actually had, I posted in our group today for people to comment with questions they have about social media, websites, whatever. And I knew I was going to get one question like this, just because it's a question that I see in every single martial arts Facebook group that has to do with social media. Someone says, Facebook ads just aren't working for me. I've tried them, they don't work. So I know some of the answers that they can look at, but what's the first thing that you go to if you have someone come to you saying, I'm not getting any clicks or getting any leads from my Facebook ads that I'm doing? What should they look at first?
Yeah, I almost, it's a very serious problem, but I almost laugh at that question because it's such a loaded question. Like there's so many answers and there's no single answer that's going to be like, oh, if you do this, it's going to make everything work. There's no like exact answer to this. And that's one of the things about internet marketing that I want people to really understand is there's no exact science to it. There is no magic bullet. There's no exact formula for you to follow that's going to work because everyone's demographic is different. There's so many different variables that everybody's dealing with that there is no one thing that is just like the go-to thing. I mean, Facebook ads in general is, of course, right now it's a real way to enroll students, and it's the most popular way because it does work. I mean, that's for sure. But there's so much that goes into making it work that's what people don't really understand.
So what are a few factors that you would look at, like some of the main things?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I break it down for any sort of Facebook ad, there's a couple different things that I look at. And I think that the most important thing to look at is what your organic posts look like. And what I mean by that is all of the other posts that you're making other than your ad. Because I think there's so much that goes into a successful ad that's not the actual ad itself or the website that people are being sent to that make the difference. So what I mean by this is like, how often are you posting and what type of posts are they? Are they engaging and entertaining posts? Are they videos that are making people laugh? Are they pictures that are making people smile? Are they tips that you're giving that are going to help their life? Are you inspiring people? Are you doing all of these things to make them feel good before you're actually trying to sell to them? And that's a really important piece that I think a lot of martial arts schools miss currently, is that they're not going into their social profiles with the mindset of really building relationships, which is what we're in the business of doing. We need to build relationships before people trust us and will buy from us. And they just expect that because companies like mine and other companies are releasing ad sets where they can just copy the graphics and the text and the targeting options, that they can just run that and all of a sudden they'll have 30 trials this month. And unfortunately, it's just not how it works.
I tend to see some of the people that have issues with Facebook marketing. One of a couple of things. First of all, you go to their Facebook page and there's no activity or engagement at all on the Facebook page, except for that one sale that they did, which goes back to what you said. There's no warming up of the audience. There's no relationship built with the people that you're advertising to. I think the other aspect of it that I see a lot with people struggling with the Facebook advertising part of it is that they try it once, and since it didn't work one time, they just give up on it altogether. Where I think I don't know if you agree, but I think there's definitely a learning curve to it. And I think after a while, it's sort of, after doing a few ads that maybe fail miserably the first time, you start to get a better idea of how to target properly, how to create a smart headline, and so forth. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, and I think there's also a variable where, like, I'm not sure if you've ever seen it, but I see it especially with certain martial arts schools, because at our company, we'll run Facebook ads for our clients, for certain clients who pay for that service, and we'll run the same ad for each school, and some get a good response and some get not great responses. And it's really interesting, and I really want to see, like, testing wise how this works out. But you'll see that someone will post an ad, a school will post an ad, and then someone will comment and they'll tag their friend, and then another person will tag another friend, and then all of a sudden you have this long comment chain going where all these people are tagging their friends and talking about the deal and blah, 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 blah. And it makes you stop and think, and if that first person never tagged their friend initially, would this have gotten the type of response that it's gotten? Because, there is that thing called proof where see other people doing something, so they think, I should look at that too. So, if that post never got that first tag or that first person kind of taking the initiative to write something on that ad, would it ever get the attention that it got? And I think that's something that you can't really force. It just happens sometimes. And that's, if you train your audience to leave comments and like your stuff, then they'll do it more often, which is where, going back to the organic stuff, it's so important to post content that encourages people to tag their friends and interact with you in that way. Because when you do post your ad and then they do that, it ends up being a lot more effective. But that's it's one of those things where if that doesn't happen, there's a chance that your ad is just way less successful than a previous one. So
sure, that's great insight. Awesome. Now, one thing that I also tend to notice on Facebook pages that I look at that maybe people are newer to Facebook marketing is they don't have a pixel installed. The whole pixel concept is a little complicated. As best as you can you explain what a Facebook pixel is and sort of what it does?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the easiest way to put this is, if you've ever been shopping on a website before, like even Amazon or Macy's or anything like that, and you've been looking at something, let's just say a pair of shoes, and then you go back on Facebook an hour later and you're just browsing through your feed and you see an ad pop up for that exact product you were looking at or from that store that you were looking at previously, that means you've been retargeted with a Facebook pixel. And essentially what it is a piece of code that lived on that website that you were on, and it tracked the fact that you were on that website looking at a specific product and knows that you're interested. So what they're trying to do is follow up with you via Facebook and show you ads for whatever you were looking at.
Yeah, it's no one actually stalking you, because that's what I thought when I first saw those ads. No, but I think that's really important. And you did a webinar on Facebook Pixels like a few months back, right?
Yeah.
And if you guys have a chance, if you follow Steven, or if you don't, start following him, dig up that webinar, because it was really informative. I learned some things about Pixels, and I was able to sort of double check to make sure mine was installed correctly as well. Steven's always great like that for some free knowledge. Wanted to go to a question that I had in our group today, sort of focusing on social media as a whole. Are there any other social media platforms besides Facebook that you would encourage entrepreneurs and business owners to use to help sort of spread their brand and also be able to build relationships with their clients? Yeah,
no, that's a great question. Well, specifically speaking about martial arts schools, and I guess this goes in general, before you move on to a second social media platform, you need to be really good at one. In general, you don't want to spread to the point where you're spread thin. So if you identify which social media is the most effective for you, so for martial arts schools, that'll be Facebook, just based off of the demographic that you're targeting, whether that's for a kid's martial arts class or an adult martial arts class, you're still looking at the same roughly 25 to 45-year-old age range, and that's where people are when it comes to what social media they're choosing for the most part. So you want to get really, really good at using Facebook before you start going over to Twitter or Instagram or Snapchat or anything else that exists currently. So that includes having a regular posting schedule, doing Facebook Lives, engaging with your community, having a really good private page for your students and the parents. So just having a really, really spot on Facebook presence is step one. And then when it's time to look at other platforms that are going to work for you, there's a couple things that you need to understand before choosing. So Twitter, first of all, I don't think it's a good place, especially for martial arts schools currently. I just think that you can skip that one entirely. I think that sometimes we're fed all this information like, oh, you have to have your business everywhere, but I don't think it's totally true. I think that you need to be where it matters. So Twitter, I just wouldn't worry about at all. The second one that I would invest time into is Instagram over Snapchat. But there's something that you have to understand about that. It's that there's a different demographic that live on these different platforms. Instagram, I think, is because now it's owned by Facebook, that there's a lot of people using it that kind of blend into the Facebook demographic as well. But I look at, like, I have a younger half brother that's like 13 now or something, and I look at the way that he deals with social media, and I don't think he has a Facebook page. I think he just has Instagram at this point. So, when you look at the demographic that is on these different social media pages, you need to think about what your content is going to be like, and then how you're going to form that and how you're going to present it to these people, because it's different. Facebook, you have your 25 to 45-year-olds, but Instagram might be your, 13 to 20-year-olds for the most part. So going back to that, Facebook is going to be the core one that you're going to focus a lot of time on. And then after that, I would move over to Instagram.
I sort of feel like Instagram is the way that you can connect with your students, and then Facebook is the way that you can connect with their parents. And I don't know if you would agree with that, but like all of our instructors that are teenagers at our school pretty much live on Instagram. They use Snapchat to a point, mostly just to like text each other and see what each other are doing. But Instagram is where they spend a majority of their time. So I think if you're able to use that as a way to communicate and build relationships with your students, your younger students, I think that's a great way to go about it. And I don't know if you agree with this or not. I remember when Facebook first started back in the day, right? Like after MySpace, It started off as all like younger, like college kids that were on it. And then after a few years, you saw all their parents jumping on it to see what they were up to. And all of those college kids had heart attacks. Do you feel like Instagram is going to eventually go that way where right now, obviously, it's a younger demographic, but do you see their parents jumping on there soon just to sort of see what those kids are up to?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think the other part of that is that the college kids grow up and now they're the parents. So it's
True.
like, I think that'll probably always happen. I think that the unique thing about Facebook versus any other social media that has existed in the past, like let's say MySpace, is that they're adapting. And that's something that social media companies haven't really done in the past. Like,
True.
for instance, they just released, what is it, like Facebook TV or whatever.
Yep.
They have like the episodes that you can watch on Facebook. And they're investing a lot of time and money into what people do on the internet. And they want people to do it on Facebook. They want people to spend more time on Facebook. So do I think that they'll migrate to other platforms? Probably. But do I think they'll leave Facebook? I don't think so. I don't think for a good amount of time. I think that we're right now, especially talking about like advertising on Facebook, I think we're in the golden era right now in terms of like pricing and things like that and like how you can take advantage of it. I think that as time goes on, things are going to get more and more expensive. And that if there's any time to really invest in it, it's now.
That was a great answer. I love that. Going back to a question that I had, this one I'm pretty sure I know the answer on, but I think it would be good for you because you'd probably be able to explain it way better than me. One of our clients asked if you use an app like Buffer or something similar to post to your Facebook page, does Facebook recognize that the same as a post like actually through your Facebook page, or does it limit the number of people that can see it since you're using a third-party app?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So I mean, I have my own beliefs on this. I don't think there's anything like set in stone that says like we're going to devalue if it comes through an app like Buffer or something like that. And for those who don't know, Buffer is a tool that allows you to schedule social media posts in advance, and then it'll post it at a certain time that you specify, or the tool itself tries to know when the best time it is to post it, when you're going to get the best response. It wouldn't surprise me if Facebook does that. I have seen a little bit of that on my own end, just from utilizing these tools where we don't get as good of a response from it. But I think it comes down to actually a couple other things where it's almost like a placebo effect where you feel like it might be Buffer, but it's really not. But like when you're making posts on your own, typically if you're thinking of something, so you go online and you post about it, you're more, maybe the topic is a little bit more natural, like there's more thought put into it, or like feeling invested in it. So in that sense, it might be more attractive for people to post on. If that makes sense, I feel like it's almost the kind of pre-planned posts are done because you need to share content, where something that's like more organic attracts more people. I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, this is just my own thinking, but there is some like real logic behind something that's called EdgeRank. Have you ever heard of that before?
I've heard of it. I'm not really familiar with it though.
So it's the Facebook algorithm of how they weight posts, because I'm sure everybody has noticed that like you go on Facebook and you see, I've got 1,000 friends, but for whatever reason, you keep seeing this, the same 35 people post. You don't see the other, whatever it is, 900 and whatever people. And the reason why is because of this thing called EdgeRank. And what EdgeRank is it's Facebook's way of weighing posts, because they can't show you everything that everyone posts. Like you would have so much in your feed, especially once you start getting into the thousands of friends. Like it would just be so much information that you couldn't read it all. So what they try to do is figure out what do you care about the most. And what they do is they track the way that you interact on Facebook. And they weigh that your posts and the posts that you see based off of these things. So like one of those things is something called your affinity score, which is essentially how connected are you to a particular person. Like, for instance, if you like someone's stuff a lot or you comment on their stuff a lot, then you're more likely to see their stuff in your newsfeed later on. And this is why like having engaged organic posts on your Facebook page is so important. Getting people to comment on it is so important, because the more they comment on it, the more they're going to see your stuff in the future. So That's just one of the things that goes into edge rank. There's something called edge weight, which basically means like comments are worth more than likes. So if it's something that has a lot of comments, it's going to be shown more. That's why right now there's a big trend of people putting up the GIF or GIF, however people say it, the like post your reaction below using a GIF, and then you have that little GIF tool, and that ends up in like having hundreds of comments on your post because it's funny and it's interactive and it's really easy to post, and that's great. Like that's a really good tactic for businesses to use because that gets a lot of comments and comments way more than likes. And then one of the other things is something called time decay. Like there are very specific times that you should be posting on your Facebook page because it's more likely for people to see it. And if they don't see it when you post it, as time goes on, other people are posting stuff. So those newer posts are of more quality than your old post. So it's there's this thing called edge rank, which I think have a lot to do with your post and not so much the way that it was posted.
Now, what times would you recommend as being the best for people to post on Facebook? Are there specific times, or do they need to sort of just test it out and feel it out for their market?
Yeah, like I have a couple guidelines that I think work pretty well, but like you said, testing, like internet marketing is amazing, especially compared to print marketing, because you have the ability to test without investing a lot of money. Like print marketing, you design this booklet, you pay for a designer to do it, and then you print it, you pay for the printing, and then you pay for the shipping, and then you kind of cross your fingers and hope it works. But internet marketing is amazing because you can flip on and off, you can do different tests, you can compare results. So that's why internet marketing is like, I think the most amazing thing right now. But in terms of different times, I've always noted is because we track our clients' websites and when they receive leads. And I believe has a lot to do with like when parents are on or they're thinking about these types of things. So days wise, I would say anything Sunday night to Thursday mostly are the best days to post. And then times, I think anywhere between 9 to 11 a.m. and then later in the evening, like 8 to 10 p.m. are usually like the hot spots for times.
That's great advice. That's excellent. And that's, some of the times that you had mentioned were not times that I would necessarily think of, but sort of thinking about parenting schedules after the kids go to the bed. A lot of times parents grab their smartphone right away and are just trying to recoup on what they missed during the day while they're at work. So I could definitely see that. That's awesome.
Or they get to work and they sit down and everyone does that thing where they kind of just hang out for the first hour when they get to work and sip on their coffee and kind of browse Facebook or whatever they're doing. So that's the other time when I'm kind of talking about that 9 to whatever window.
Well, our listeners don't know anything about that because they're disciplined martial artists. So
True.
I'm sure. All right, going to sort of switching over to websites. I've seen some interesting martial arts school websites. Oh my goodness. I've seen some really great ones too. Of course, if you guys haven't seen the websites that Market Muscles puts out, you have some of the best looking websites I've seen. They all function like really quickly and they're very smooth and modern looking. And also you have the opt-in is in like a great place. It's really easy for people to get the information right away. Can you walk us through of some of the biggest mistakes you see on websites for martial arts schools?
Yeah, absolutely.
Should be fun.
Yeah. I mean, I of course, just based off of the business that I'm in, I've seen quite a fair share of them myself. I think, I forgot who I was listening to on YouTube, but they brought up this thing where everybody's tuned into this radio station called, I'm probably going to get it wrong, but WII, I can't even remember what the acronym is, but basically it's What's in It for Me, WIIFM. Yeah, that's what it is. So, the way that people think when they come to your website is they're dealing with a very specific set of needs, whether it's them or their child or whatever it may be. And they're interested in solving whatever that may be, whether their child's being bullied or they themselves want to lose weight, whatever it is. And you having information about that crazy championship you won back in the 1980s and how you're a 9th degree black belt and blah, 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 is not going to help you attract new students. It's like, I mean, and this reference has been used many, many times by many people, but it's like going on a first date, sitting down, and your date just starts telling you about how awesome of a person they are, which of course is something that's very not attractive and doesn't help you, get to know that person or start to feel like they might be a good connection for you.
So we're not supposed to do that on a first date.
You're not supposed to do that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's one mistake that I see all the time. On the front page, they show a cool picture of them sidekicking someone in the side of the head. Like things like that are just like
parents
not very good. Might be a cool picture, but like when a parent is looking for a martial arts school for their child, the last thing they want to think about is them getting flying sidekicked in the side of the head. So yeah, probably not the best photo choice, but so that's one thing. Really, really stick to like the pain points that people are dealing with. Talk about how you're going to benefit them. It's all about them and what they're going to get out of the program, and not about you and how you kick someone's ass 20 years ago. So, focus on that. In terms of the actual website itself, I can't believe I'm saying this in 2017, but something that I see a lot is that websites are not responsive, mobile responsive. And what I mean by that, it's very different from bringing up your phone, going on a website and saying, oh, look, my website loads. What a mobile responsive website is essentially as your screen browser comes down in size, so whether that's going from a desktop to a tablet to a phone, the website itself will automatically adapt and start to almost stack on top of itself. And what this does is it results in a really great experience when someone is on your website on a phone. So that way they're just browsing up and down with a natural thumb motion rather than left, right, zooming out, up, down, all crazy things to kind of see your website, which is a bad experience. And a lot of the times people are going to your website to learn more about you. It might be the first time that they see you, and you don't want them to have a bad experience the first time that they interact with your company. So having a mobile responsive website is very, very, very important. And we look at stats all the time of like how many people are coming from a mobile device. And it's like over 60% of people on your website are going to be coming from mobile devices at this point. I mean, you walk around the streets, you see everybody's heads down, facing their phones, walking around. So everybody's browsing on their phones. So it's really, really important to have a good experience for them.
Those are great points. Yeah, it's crazy how many websites I've seen that are not mobile responsive. And the other thing too I see a lot is like images from 1975 that are like all pixelated and blurry, or you see a logo that just has like the random like background, the black background behind it, instead of being like a PNG file that actually like looks nice on their website. I'm sure we could go on for the rest of this show with some of the things that we've seen. Just want to piggyback on what you're talking about the pain points and sort of what's in it for the consumer and the people looking at your website. I think the same is true for building a culture in your school, because I see a lot of times martial arts schools, you go in and there's dusty trophies all over the place. The instructor is all about his competitions he won in the past and his 12th degree black belt he has in some martial art that the parent doesn't even care about. So I think, guys, taking that same concept that Steven's touching on for your website, it's important to implement that in your school as well, where you're not focused on what you did or the championships that you've won, but instead you're focused on making sure that you're meeting the needs of the people coming into your school and understanding what they want their children to learn and what their pain points are, and being able to address those. And do you have any suggestions for people that maybe aren't sure on how to figure out what the pain points are for their customers?
Yeah, definitely. And just to go back real quick on what you're saying, and it's not like those things aren't important, because like for me, like I'm a traditional karate martial artist. I'm very, very proud of like the style that I train in. It's the same style that I started training in when I was 2.5 years old.
Sure.
I go to Okinawa every year to train. Like I'm very passionate about the style of karate that I am part of, but unless I was part of that style, I wouldn't be passionate about it. You know what I mean? Like if I was an outsider looking in, I wouldn't know what there is to be passionate about. So even though like we may be suggesting like take those things down, it's not a knock on like, how great your martial arts is or the style is that you belong to. It's just that people don't understand until they understand. So you really want to attract them with these things like how we can help you and what the pain points are that you're dealing with and all these great benefits. And then once they become your student, then they get to appreciate the style of martial arts and all of these accomplishments and how they can have their own accomplishments and all these different things. So I just, wanted to put that out there. But in terms of like establishing what are pain points that people are dealing with, like I hope that's part of your question process when you speak to someone on the phone for the first time, because again, it's about them and what they're dealing with, and really listening to what they have to say is going to let you know how you should, formulate the conversation. And that's like a sales 101 type thing. And, I'm not saying I'm the best salesman by any chance, but I know that's like, one of the things that that definitely needs to be done is you have to ask more questions than talking. And the more you can let someone talk and not you talk, the better. So in terms of figuring out what those pain points are, obviously there's very known national ones like bullying and stuff like that a lot of kids deal with, and depression and whatever it may be, not having friends and blah, 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 blah. But when it comes to really figuring this out and like what's going to work for your demographic, you just need to ask. That's really what it comes down to.
And I know with your most recent like update you've done for your website service, you've done something really unique with the pain points of consumers, right?
Yeah. So on our websites, essentially how it works, like let's say a parent is interested in a kids martial arts kids martial arts program, and they go on one of our clients' websites. They get hit with a screen that essentially says, what is your child dealing with? And it gives them 6 options where they can select multiple options that highlight the 6 most popular pain points. So it's like bullying and school grades and weight loss and some other ones. And then they select those options, and then the website itself will actually transform to match whatever they've selected. So now it's a experience that's catered to whatever they're dealing with. So now they're not bothered by things that aren't related to what they're dealing with. It shows that you as a school are in tune with how to deal with these things and can provide a solution. And then the amazing thing is that once they actually fill out their information, you receive a notification with what they selected. So when you give them a call, you can say, oh, hey, Sally, I see that you're interested in kids martial arts classes for your child. I see that they're dealing with bullying issues. Tell me a little bit more about it. And then it helps kind of build that connection and start that conversation a lot easier.
When you showed me that the first time, I was blown away. I was like, this is ingenious. Why hasn't anyone else thought of this? And I automatically thought about that first connection with that prospect, how much easier it's going to be to communicate to that person about your school and already knowing what their main interest is before you've even talked, that's awesome. So if you guys don't have something like that on your website, talk to Steven. He'll get you set up with it. Steven, I also wanted to, one thing we like to do every episode is we like to do what we call some quick fire questions. Some of them are completely random. Some of them have to do with martial arts. So are you ready?
I'm nervous, but yeah, let's do
it. No politic or religion questions, so you'll be good.
Okay.
All right. First one. What do you think is the biggest thing missing in the martial arts industry?
Oh, boy. Wow.
Or the biggest problem or challenge in the martial arts industry?
Well, okay. So this is tough for me to speak on because for the business community, I'm relatively new. Like I've had market muscles for around 1.5 years now, so it's hard for me to say. But from an outsider looking in and now being in this business for 1.5 years, I think there needs to be a lot more idea exchanging and a lot more getting along, if that makes sense.
Amen, brother.
I don't know how else to put it, but everyone has something of value to share, and I think that everyone needs to get along. I'll leave it at that.
I think having an open mind is a huge part of that also. And just remember, guys, I know we are born in tradition in martial arts. Like, we're taught to live, eat, breathe tradition. But there's this thing called adaptation that's just as important. So just keep that in mind if you're listening. All right, Steven, what is your favorite book that you've read or are reading that you would recommend to the listeners?
Oh, wow. So I just got done reading Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of him, but he's the owner of ClickFunnels, which is an online tool for creating landing pages. He's a very, very smart marketer. I listened to his podcast as well. Hopefully that wasn't another question coming up, but I definitely recommend checking that out. It's all about building a culture based off of people who kind of follow you and look up to you, and how to have a very compelling personality that people want to follow. So it's really interesting, and it's really, really helpful for kind of building your online presence. And then one other one, it's kind of like a classic at this point, which is weird, but it's Jab, 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 Left Hook, Right Hook, Left Hook, I think, by Gary Vaynerchuk, which... Yeah, and it's basically what the premise is, it's telling you how to share content and give to your community and build up a fan base and really give before going for the left hook, which is the sale. So that's an important concept that I feel like a lot of people can benefit from. So those are 2 books.
So let me ask you a question sort of regarding the books that you chose. For Expert Secrets, so I have Expert Secrets that's sitting on my bookshelf. I was one of those guys that ordered like 14 books at the same time. So I'm working my way. Do you recommend people to read .com Secrets first, or does it matter?
I think they're separate, in my opinion. So .com Secrets is more about like strategies for marketing, and like what goes into the mindset of that. And I mean, I think it's incredibly valuable. I think it's one of those books that needs to be read over and over and over again and referred back to. I think Expert Secrets is more about like really understanding like what compels people to follow you and what makes you an attractive person, if that makes sense. Not so much like, obviously not looks, but like personality wise, and really how to kind of build that cult following, which I think as a martial arts school owner and a leader, I think it's important. And I think it's, one of those things where you want students to be proud of being a student of yours. So it's a good book.
Awesome. Another really good Gary Vee book for those of you guys listening is Ask Gary Vee. I know he has his podcast and live show he does, but that is another awesome book if you guys have already read Jab, 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 Right Hook. All right, next, favorite martial arts movie of all time?
Oh, yeah. I oddly enough, I don't watch a lot of martial arts movies.
I feel like they're not as good as they used to be.
I guess so. Like even as a kid, I don't know. I guess Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Is that an okay answer?
That's a fantastic answer. The original one or number 2?
The Ooze one. I can't remember the name.
The one with Ernie Reyes Jr.
I think. Yeah. The opening scene where he's the pizza boy, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That I just remember as a kid, just like watching that and just jumping off the couch doing flying sidekicks and stuff. So, yeah, solid movie.
Great choice. I love it. What type of music do you listen to primarily?
I listen to a lot of different music. I don't know if this is surprising or not, but primarily like 90s R&B, like 2000s R&B.
I would not have thought of that.
Everyone says that.
So like who, like 112, Boyz II Men? Yeah,
like New Edition, Boyz II Men. Yeah, all those sorts. I usually just put on Spotify. I'll pick like New Edition Radio. I saw their biopic was amazing in my opinion, and after that I was like, all right, this is going to be cranking on Spotify for a while.
Nice. You know who recommended me to watch that was Johnny Tension, but I haven't gotten around to it, which I thought that was strange coming from him because he's like an old school hip hop guy. So, but no, that's interesting. Awesome.
They all those like BT and VH1 biopics. There's like TLC and like all these different ones. I don't know. They're entertaining to me.
Now, do you have a daily routine that you do, like something that you have like a habit of doing every day? Like I know some people have like their morning routine that they do. Some people just sort of like wing it each day and aren't big planners. Do you have any type of routine that you do each day?
Yeah, that's a good question. It really depends on like how crazy busy I am. It kind of changes a bit, but for the most part, what I like to do is get up. I like to work out first thing in the morning if I can. And then I'll sit down and I'll read like emails and that sort of thing, kind of get caught up. And then typically the night before is how I set my schedule. I can sleep and rest a lot better knowing what I'm getting into the next day. So, yeah, I mean, just planning it out the night before, waking up, working out, and then just getting into it.
Excellent. What is the one app on your phone that you can't live without?
Oh, let me see now. Well, Facebook for one. I just do, like, I try and be involved in groups and everything as much as possible. But outside of that, I'm looking through now to see which one I open the most. Probably Spotify, to be honest.
All right, nice.
I'm big on music. Yeah.
Now I want to go listen to some 90s R&B. So you got me going.
Some Seal. Like, how can you not like Kiss from a Rose?
Kiss, that is a great song. See, I think of, 90s R&B always gets me to think of, like, I don't know, Boyz II Men. That's like the group that always pops up. It was R. Kelly 90s, or was he early 2000s?
I think he had some in the 90s, but if you watch the New Edition biopic, you'll see that New Edition actually discovered Boyz II Men while they were on tour, and then one of the guys in New Edition ended up signing Boyz II Men. So
crazy. Right,
there's a song by New Edition called Boyz II Men, and that's how they got their name.
Huh. Crazy. The things you learn from Steven, it's unbelievable. Steven, if people want to be able to follow you, because I know you share a lot of great content online where there's things to just sort of help to dial in your Facebook marketing, or just to sort of help with common questions that people have, what's the best way for people to follow you?
Yeah. So, I mean, in general, I really enjoy helping. I know that's a pretty common thing that people say, but that's really how I built my name in this industry, and it's came from a genuine spot. So join our group at Martial Arts Internet Marketing Resources. If you just search that on Facebook, you'll find it. If you join, it'll ask you like 2 questions. So just fill that out and I'll accept you into the group. Outside that, you could shoot me an email, Steven with a PH at marketmuscles.com. Or just shoot me a friends request on Facebook too. That's totally cool.
And just from my experience with Steven, I have to say he's probably one of the most like genuine people in the martial arts industry. And I've come to him with all sorts of questions regarding ClickFunnels, Facebook, all sorts of different technical stuff. And he always goes above and beyond in helping me, and really takes time to explain things to me. He talks to me like I'm stupid without making me feel stupid, if that makes sense. So he explains it in real simple terms so I understand, but doesn't make me feel stupid about it or anything. But yeah, he's an awesome guy to work with, and I encourage you guys, if you are looking for help with your website or social media, or just using the great content that he's put out for social media as well, make sure you contact him. Would you recommend them to contact you first, or just go to your website?
Yeah, I mean, if there's any services that they're interested in and what we offer, whether it be websites or our resource content that we put out, or something I don't really talk about much, but our TV content manager, which if you have a TV in your school and you want an easy way to update the content on it, just head to marketmuscles.com, and there's on our homepage, you can just select which service you're interested in and learn more. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me directly.
Great. Thank you, Steven, so much for taking out time. You answered, I think, a lot of questions that people have been struggling with or wondering about, and that needed some direction. So I think it's really going to help a lot of people. And I appreciate you taking time to be on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Thanks, Steven. Wow, so much great information from Steven. I hope you guys took some notes, rewind it if you need to. And this is a great time for you guys to audit your website and your social media page. What I mean by that is actually go through your website and see if some of those things that Steven mentioned as some of the biggest mistakes that he sees, see if those are evident on your website. And do the same thing with your Facebook business page as well. So that way you can start correcting those things and being able to use those 2 platforms to convert more trials into actual members. So I encourage you guys to do that right away. Pause this if you need to. Get on it. Next, I want to get to our punch in the face segment.
Now it's time to take a punch in the face.
For our punch in the face segment, I always like to focus on something that's going to help you to progress more in your personal life. Because my belief is if you're developing yourself and developing your personal life in the right way, it makes it that much easier to focus on developing your business. I was watching a video that Nick D did, and if you guys know me, Nick D is someone that I follow like crazy. He's my business mentor. He's actually be our next guest on the show as well. And we got some crazy topics we're covering. But sort of steering back onto this, I was watching his video this morning, and one of the things that he asked, he said, "Are you living the lie?" Now I want you guys to think about that for a second. Are you living the lie? Here's what that means, okay? Think about the last year of your business. Have you grown consistently each month? Or are you in the same place a year ago that you are now? If you haven't grown in the last year at all, if there's no progress that's been made, guess what? You're in denial. You are living the lie. Think about it from an instructor perspective with your students. If you have a student that in 1 year time frame has not progressed, has not gotten any better, has not gained a better understanding of what they're doing, would you see that as a success? No, not at all. You would be wondering why this person isn't practicing at home, or maybe it's one of your instructors that's been working with them, and you're wondering how they moved up 3 belts in that time or 4 belts in that time when there hasn't been any improvement. And in most cases, that student probably dropped out because there wasn't progress. But what you need to think of is you need to look at this last year, and you need to think, did I progress? Did I grow? Did the business grow? And if not, why? And I'm going to give you the answer, because 99.9% of the time, the reason your business is not growing is because of you. It's your responsibility to grow that business. And it's not that you have crappy employees. It's not the economy. It's you. And once you realize that, and once you take ownership for not having your business growing, it's that much easier to start taking action. But if you're in denial of why your business isn't growing, and you're blaming it on other things and thinking of excuses of why you aren't where you want to be with your business, then you're never going to be able to fix the problem. Okay, it's like if you're on a boat, there's a bunch of holes in your boat, and you're sinking, but you're blaming the weather for why you're sinking, you're not going to be able to fix the problem. You're not going to be able to find the holes in the boat and fix them because you're blaming it on the weather, or you're blaming it on one of the other people that's employed on the boat. All right, so first thing you have to do is look back, and have you been growing consistently in the last year? If not, where's the problem? And realize that the problem is you. Okay, and then once you realize that the problem is you need to come up with a plan of what you're going to do to fix the weak areas in your business. Okay, is it that you just haven't paid any attention to your Facebook page? Okay, and you've not been posting anything on it. You've only been posting sales that you have on holidays. Is it that you have neglected your staff and you're not training them or investing in them to become better? And try and identify those problem areas. And then what I would do is I would make a list on a piece of paper and have 3 categories. You have 1 category, things that I'm kicking ass on. So these areas I'm super strong on, and our business is rocking. Middle area is areas that I've neglected or areas that need improvement. And third column on the right is things that you need to start implementing that you aren't even doing at all. So again, first column on the left, you're going to make a list of the things that you're doing great with in your business, that you get complimented on all the time. There's systems for it. They're running on their own. That middle column is the things that you need to improve on, the areas that you've neglected that you need to get back on track. And then that last column is going to be the things that you know you should be doing but haven't even started on them yet. Okay, and then once you have those 3 columns, then you need to prioritize. And most likely that second column are things that are going to be a little bit quicker to fix because you've done them in the past, but you've moved away from it, so you need to get those systems back on track. That third column, though, is things that you know you should be doing that haven't been done yet. You need to devise a plan to get started on those things and develop systems for those things to help make your business more successful. So I encourage you guys to do this because if you guys have not been experiencing that growth and you're thinking everything is okay, it's not. Okay, if you're not progressing, you're dying. So you guys need to make sure that you're coming up with a plan and you're not just happy with mediocrity. Don't be addicted to average, okay? Be allergic to average, okay? Find what the next step is that you guys need to do in order to progress in your business. And I want to leave you guys with that for today. Thank you guys for checking out the show. Next week, we have Nick D coming back on the show as one of our most popular episodes last time. And he has such a knack for getting you to think in a different way. And man, I think I've listened to that podcast myself so many times, that last one he was on. But he challenges a lot of what you're used to in a good way because he wants to get you thinking outside of the box. He also is not afraid to call people out on their BS and call out BS systems in the industry as well. So I'm really excited to have him on the show. He's always a fantastic guest. So that'll be coming next week. Thanks again, guys, for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe and download the podcast each week. Tell your friends about it and give us a rating as well. So if you love our show, give us that 5-star rating. If you hate our show, give us whatever rating you want, but just give us some sort of rating on iTunes there. Thanks a lot, guys. See you next week.
LevelUpMyMusic.com.
Level Up Music, the #1 music streaming service for martial arts schools. Get clean, family-friendly, motivating music mixes that your students and parents will love. It's so easy to use. All you need is a phone, tablet, or computer with an internet connection, and you're ready to start streaming. Upgrade the atmosphere in your school. Get started today.